Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U. And today we're going to be talking about writing hilarious comedies. More specifically, we'll look at some of the bidding wars that are going on right now for comedy scripts and likely will continue to happen in the future. I'll tell you why. And we'll talk about why comedy scripts are selling. I got some interesting insight from a producer about this. I'll give you an example of a laugh your ass off scene that you can use the structure I'm going to give you to be able to write your own. We'll do a quick demo of creating a brand new comedy project, which for those of you who join us will be incredibly valuable for you. And then we'll talk about the brand new class, Writing Hilarious Comedies, for anybody who really, truly wants to be great at this and wants to end up with comedies that people talk about and people want to see and people recommend and all of those kinds of things. So let's do this. Bidding wars. This just actually happened. Paramount, this is week and a half or a week ago or so, but in last week actually, Paramount picked up a project called Guys with No Friends, and it was through a bidding war. See these words right here? After a bidding war. The writers were excellent writers, Deborah Kaplan, Harry Elfont, uh, but it basically came down to they also had a project that was pretty cool. Here's the second one that just happened. This one was about 2 weeks ago. Netflix picked up the comedy spec. I'm not going to say the name, you can read it. And notice it was in what they call a big auction, which is another term for a bidding war. Now, what both of these mean is that the writers were paid significantly more money than normally goes out in this particular genre. It's not that this genre is low. It's anytime you have a bidding war, they are paying bigger money. And there's a reason. There's a reason why this is happening right now with comedies. So this is what I learned from talking with a producer. I was in the midst of an interview and I said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" So the question is, what does it mean? Because first, bidding wars seldom happen anyway, right? There's like 7 to 10 bidding wars a year, kind of on an average. But second, they usually happen in other genres. So why is this happening right now? Which is the question. Why are studios and streamers seeing large audiences for this year's comedies? Because they're not going to go into a bidding war if they don't think they can make all of their money back and it's going to be a huge success. So both of them, they're seeing large audiences for these comedies. Why? And that I was in the middle of talking with this producer and I asked that. And here he said something really interesting and he pointed to a specific movie. So here it is. My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Think back. Do you remember when this movie came out? Uh, my hope is that you had a chance to see it at that point. But there's a couple of things that you need to know about when it came out, the timing. Because back when it came out, I remember talking with producers at that point, and they were like, if it wouldn't have happened right now, that movie would have never had, people wouldn't even know about it. Uh, it's a whole different thing. So here's what was going on. It was released 1 year after 9/11. And our country was still in distress at that point. We were still in pain. We were still worried. There were things happening in that situation. We needed some comic relief. And this is what they said. And by the way, I'll tell you, when that happened, when 9/11 happened, there were some war movies that were canceled after that. There was a movie called Anthrax that was set to come out. And in the things that happened right after 9/11, there was an anthrax scare. They canceled that movie. They shut it down. But this one became a huge success. Its budget was $5 million. And this is what this producer said. He said, if this movie would have come out 2 years before, if it would have come out 10 years afterwards, it might have made its money back. But here's what happened in the midst of this period of time, country in distress. Its box office was $369 million. It made 74 times its money. Just incredible. And I went to see that movie when it came out, along with pretty much everybody else. I thought it was a good movie, but there was nothing about it that set it up to be this insane success. Basically, it just came down to this. Audiences needed to feel good. Now, I don't want to get into anything political here, but if you think about the current time we're in, right now we have a country in distress. Maybe not quite what that is, maybe more, I don't know. But we have a country in distress. People are in pain. They're worried. There are things that maybe aren't so good right now. And they need to feel good. Now, whatever the situation, I believe, and that's what this producer said, that there's a good chance that comedies are going to become more and more and more valuable this year. And that's what Netflix is looking towards. That's what Paramount is looking towards. They're seeing that audiences are going to need to feel good. So this is like one of those opportunities. If you've got a great comedy, right now may be the time to pitch it. And anytime in the next 6 months to a year is going to be perfect for what's going on. So what do you need to sell a comedy? I think it comes down to really three things. First, you need some kind of high concept, something that's going to draw an audience in, something that's going to have studios saying, I can sell this easily. And the high concept basically is a one-sentence pitch with a major hook. And so if you have that, spectacular. If you don't, then the job is to figure out how to create something like that. Second, you need some kind of comedy characters that fit and are going to create that funny experience for your audience. It's so much easier writing comedy when you have cool comedy characters that are, wild card, agent of chaos, characters that create situations for comedy. Now, let me tell you, at one point, Cheryl and I made a pretty big deal on a comedy. And the way we pitched it, the whole pitch meeting, we met with this big company. We pitched to the president of the company. The whole pitch meeting lasted 4 minutes. There was a minute and a half of chit chat. She asked us where we were from. We said before we came here, we were from Texas. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm having a voice problem here. She then, it turned out, had been to our hometown. We talked about a few things there. And then she said, okay, so what do you have? I said the high concept, and I had written it. I had written both of these in like 10, 15 different ways, but I had written it with a punchline at the end. So I said the high concept with the punchline. She immediately laughed. And then as she was coming down off the laughter, then I told her about our wild card character with a punchline at the end. And basically I was telling his transformational journey. And she laughed again. And then she said, I'm assuming you want to work with us. And I said, yes, we do. And she goes, all right, I'll have our business affairs guy contact you tonight. Please get me the script, or I'll have him contact you tomorrow. Please get me the script as soon as you can. I need to read it before I say yes. And I was like, absolutely. We sent it to her 30 minutes later, as soon as we got home from the meeting. She read it that night. The business affairs guy called me the next day. We were in business. Now, by the way, what we had was we had a great pitch that was funny. Second thing was we had a script that paid it off and was funny all the way through, which is what the rest of this is about. You need to have funny situations, right? These are challenging and humorous circumstances that you're putting the characters in. I'm going to talk more about that as we go. You also need lots of punchlines. We need whoever is reading that script, trying to make a decision, if they're laughing out loud every 3 or 4 pages, you're in business. Now, as long as they know they can sell it and they're laughing out loud, you're in great shape. And then you need what I call laugh your ass off scenes. These are very special scenes where it starts down here and then the comedy builds to a crescendo, where at the end of the scene, people are laughing their ass off. So there's 2 ways that I know that these, when I look at a script, I can see them because they're built in a certain way. I'm going to show you that in a second. But the other way is you go sit down in the theater when the movie first comes out and you watch how audiences respond. When you get to the laugh your ass off scenes, you will see people holding their guts because they're in pain from laughing so much. You'll hear the laughter, you will see people responding, they'll be laughing like crazy, all of that kind of thing. This is something you want to become known for, your ability to create these. So for that, let me use an example. I would say this is a profound movie, a deeply meaningful movie. Our example is going to come from, it's going to show up in a minute. Let's talk about this first. How comedy works in scenes, because we really need to before we talk about it. Okay. First, each story tool, I'm going to give you some story tools, are used to create an incongruent experience. This is what comedy's all about. You start with a congruent experience and then you go incongruent, as in you step outside the box, you give them something that surprises them, right? So in a scene, that incongruent experience is the comedy situation. The reason why most people have a hard time writing comedy is because they don't understand comedy situations. This is the key to almost all the other comedy that happens in the scene. Again, I'll show you that in a minute. Dialogue turns into punchlines, and there's a certain amount of punchlines that are there's a certain amount of dialogue that is not funny. That's the congruent part. And then there's the punchlines. Those are the incongruent part, right? Characters need to make some incongruent decisions, right? Which means some of your characters are going to show up completely normal. They're going to be, in fact, your straight guy is going to be almost completely congruent. But there are times they're going to make incongruent decisions. You're also going to have some characters that are incongruent, like the wild card or the agent of chaos character. The actions turn into physical comedy. This means you have something happening physically that makes us laugh. The props then turn into sight gags. These are props that are connected to the comedy situation, the comedy decisions, the physical comedy, all of that. And then finally, more laughs. You add toppers and running gags. So I was a stand-up comedian at one point, and learned all of this in stand-up comedy. And then when I started looking at comedies and started analyzing them, it's all over the place. We had in our development team for this particular program, we had 4 other stand-up comedians that were part of it, and every person there had written some kind of comedy. All right, let's go to our meaningful script. This is the one I'm going to use as an example, The Hangover. And we're going to look at one scene that fit the laugh your ass off model. Now, if you actually think of when you were sitting in the theater, because I went and watched this movie at that time, I was using it for an example for something else, and I went and watched it, and I watched the audience. This scene and about four others had people in that laugh your ass off kind of situation. So this one, the setup. Phil, Alan, and Stu were caught with a stolen police car. Now, if you remember the scene right before, they're in the interrogation room with this guy and his partner. They're trying to talk their way out of it. It's not working. They find out that not only are they about to be charged with having a stolen police car, but they are not going to be released for the weekend, which means they can't make it to the wedding, right? So they make this deal. This police officer offers to let them off if they do a demonstration for the kids. They're all like, yeah, let's do it. Yes, yes. They jumped into it not knowing the purpose of that demonstration. Just before the deal happened, Alan had had a little spat with the blonde-haired kid. That's important for this particular scene. So here we go. The comedy situation. The three guys are being used to demonstrate tasers in front of an audience of fifth graders. That was the first surprise. They had no idea what was about to happen. And in fact, they didn't get an idea. This guy over here is saying, hey, these people have volunteered to be part of our demonstration. And he says the word tasers, and Phil's goes, what? I didn't hear. What are you talking about? And then immediately he says these words. These gentlemen have kindly volunteered to demonstrate how a stun gun is used to subdue a suspect. There are two ways to use a stun gun, up close and personal. And at that point, we have the physical humor. Without any warning, he stuns Stu in the side of the neck, causing him to scream and pass out. The kids all laugh. The audience laughed. Then the cop says, or you can shoot them from a distance. Do I have any volunteers? And this girl comes up. She's excited to volunteer. He gives her the stun gun. And he turns, he says, not you, fat Jesus, talking to Alan, and then looks at Phil and says, you, pretty boy. So this is topper number one. It's Phil's turn. He tries to talk the girl out of it, acting like this is a logical decision, but the cop encourages her. The cop yells, finish him. And she shoots Phil, getting him right in the crotch, which caused quite a bit of laughter in the audience. Physical humor here. Phil falls to his knees. He's groaning in pain. The cop yells, right in the nuts. That was beautiful. So we've got the cops celebrating this guy in terrible pain. It was funny. We're not done yet. Then he says, well done. Let's give her a hand, which I thought was a funny line. And now, confused, Alan, by the way, starts clapping with them. He's not sure what's going on. Topper two, it's Alan's turn with the blonde kid. So he calls on this kid who has that scowl on his face. He is still mad at Alan. He comes up, they stare off at each other. He's got the gun right there. Physical humor, they have the slow motion face off between the two of them. And then the kid takes aim. We watch the red laser move up until finally gets to his face. And the kid shoots him in the face. So you can see Alan here. We've got the two wires. He's been shot in the face. Here's the blood right there. And the cop again celebrates in the face, in the face. He's so happy with this. But Alan doesn't fall. The cop gun grabs another stun gun, gives him a shot in the neck. Here's Alan right before he goes down on the table. So the analysis on this, just real simple. First, we got a very strong comedy situation, right? It's a comic surprise. These guys had no idea what they were getting into. It came as a total shock to them. It surprises us, the whole thing. We've got 5 punchlines that came out of that comedy situation. We've got 2 sight gags that came out of it, 2 toppers, and 8 moments of physical humor. So all of that came first because we started with a great comedy situation. That's part of what you're trying to do there. So here, a couple more things. Characters are designed for comedy. That's our first thing. Excuse me. We've got a surprising comedy situation in that. We've got a series of incongruent moments. We've got a combination of physical comedy, sight gags, toppers, and punchlines, and the comedy escalates. So that fits what this is about. Now, let me just show you something real fast. We'll do a quick demo. I'm going to show you some of the big picture decisions and how you can create those. This is something that a lot of writers don't know. It's your big picture decisions to get your script requested. Back to that meeting I had with that big producer, she hadn't even read the script yet. And the big picture decisions told her she could sell it to an audience. So these are critically important. And I'm talking about your high concept and your title, both incredibly important. Because this is the easiest way to pitch it inside the industry. But second, your movie is going to be known for your title. If you have a title that works, you're in great shape. The high concept is going to be what people pitch to each other inside the industry. If your producer is pitching it, he or she is going to be saying basically the title and the high concept. If the high concept is great, it makes it so easy for them to sell it. Then it's going to be about your comedy characters, and then about your comedy situations. We made another deal that happened this way. I said the high concept. The producer laughed. I said the lead comedy character. That producer didn't laugh there. So I went to what I thought was one of the best comedy situations and just said that in 2 sentences. The producer laughed, came back and said, yes, he wanted to read the script. That's how this goes. So let me demonstrate how you can create these. Just a moment here. Just a second. Here we go. So this is ChatGPT. I'm sure you guys all know it. Years ago, there were problems and concerns about it. Now, pretty much most of the writers that I know who are inside the industry are using it to brainstorm. That's what we do. We use it just to brainstorm. So let me show you what I mean on this. I put in an idea and I'm asking it right now to give me concepts. Now, on this idea, I just added a bunch of things. A failed used car salesperson has to impress his mother-in-law, who starred in the show Real Housewives of Bakersfield. This concept might be good enough already. Sometimes you can just put in, 3 things. It's like, I have a failed used car salesperson. He has to impress his mother-in-law. How can he do it? And this will generate a series of concepts that fit what you need. So here, titles, Lemons and Lace. I actually think that's kind of funny. I'm not going to read all of them, but let's just read this one. Sleazy used car salesperson fakes high society to impress his mother-in-law. Okay, that's kind of cool. I'm just going to say yes to that for the moment. But the way we have it set up, you can get a whole series of them. They all fit and match what is needed when you're doing this. Just a second. Then from there, then it's about creating your characters. So I'm going to pick this one as the example. Just a second. And let's see what it does for creating the characters. Okay. So it's specifically, I'm asking it to create comedy characters. We have a straight guy first, right? Who is Danny. It's our used car salesman who's trying to impress the mother-in-law. And what it's going to tell us is what its role is, what its personality traits are, right? And what makes him funny. In this case, it's saying Danny's reactions, they're deadpan. This happens a lot, by the way, with a straight guy. The awkward attempts at whatever, right? It could be like if we go to Hangover, it's the awkward attempts to keep everything making sense for our straight guy. And then he has a core conflict. He's painfully aware that he doesn't belong and he attempts to fake it. All right, I'm good with that guy. Then we have the over-the-top sidekick, and you can read these later, or I'll read them later or something. But it's like what I'm looking for is what causes this character to fit this particular role and what makes them funny. Now, also, we still have what the role is and the personality traits, what their comedic use is. Then we have the quirky wild card, right? This is Midge. She is a quirky, delusional former child star turned dog psychic. I love that. So then it gives us what makes him funny. Let's see what the conflict character is. Danny's future mother-in-law is the conflict character. Okay, that's good. And then it tells again what makes her funny, her constant stream of passive aggressive remarks. All of this is making sense if I was writing this particular project. And finally, we have the agent of chaos down there. Now let's take it a step further. Let's go right here. There we are. And again, what we did before this was we picked a concept, the version of it. Then we went down here, we created the actual characters that are going to play out, and we've got one version of each of the types of characters that make a great comedy. And from there, now we're going to the different kinds of comedy situations. These essentially are a single scene, and your job is to look at the situation and use it to be able to create punchlines, to be able to create physical humor, to be able to create toppers, all the different things that go into it. So here, Botox Buffet Bungle. Don't even know what this is yet. Danny, trying to fit in with at the wellness brunch, mistakenly injects himself with Botox meant for the raffle giveaway. Loses control of his facial muscles. Okay, that could be a kind of a fun scene, right? You could turn that into all kinds of different things. You could set up situations that would make it far more embarrassing, have all kinds of punchlines, things he says, things people say about him. Let's just go down to another one. Let's go the goat yoga catastrophe. Danny tries goat yoga to bond with Monica. Cliff, one of our characters, surprises everyone by bringing in an actual mountain goat, which headbutts the guest. Okay, that could be a really funny scene. We've got all kinds of chaos going on by the goat. We've got characters who are dealing with a difficult and weird situation. So what just happened was in about 1 minute there, it generated 10 possible comedy situations, which is one of the hardest things for people to create. How do you create the kinds of situations that will turn into a laugh your ass off kind of scene? So we have 10 here. You'd go through, let's say you picked 4 of them. At minimum, now what you have is you have a scene that could start the movie. You have a scene that could be like at the midpoint of the movie, and you have two big ones that could come towards the end of the movie and make them really fun. If you want, you get to go back and brainstorm even more and fill up your script. If you have between 5 to 7 of these, you have a great comedy. Now, let's go back over here just a second, so you can see this. Because our objective, again, is for you to be able to make the kinds of decisions that make you successful. So the way for the class that's coming up, for those of you who decide to join us, which I recommend you do if you want to write great comedy, I'd like you to generate 5 or more of these projects and then pick the best one that you'll then choose to write. So what this does is it puts you above 98% of all the writers out there. Most people, the way they come up with something is something pops into their mind, or they brainstorm one thing. As soon as they find something to write, they write it. What if you could brainstorm 5 or more and then pick the very best out of those? So instead of the best of 1, you have the best of 10. And whatever that one is that survives, the reason you picked it is first because you love it. It's going to be fun to write. But second, because it will be easy to sell. And so that's our objective. That's our goal for you, is that you at least have the chance and you give yourself the chance to be able to do that. So here's the class. Let me just walk you through it so you can see how it works. This is a new class. We just went through and did all the recordings for it and all of that, so you can see it. It starts with what's funny. You bring in your best comedy of the 10 that you looked that you designed. You bring in the very best one. Now we're going to make sure that you really understand what causes humor, what causes people to laugh. Because once you understand that, then you focus your creative efforts around making that happen. At that point, then the question is, what's the story about? Right? You've got your concept that's funny. You've got your lead characters that are funny. You've got comedy situations you can build in there. But we need to make sure that you have a story that is just as good as the comedy. So we're going to that before we start adding anything else in. Once you know what your story is, then you're going to take the characters you brought in, you're going to put them through our test to make sure that those characters are built both for comedy and for your story. This is high-level stuff, by the way. From there, you'll go to the story structure and build your story structure to make sure that you have a screenplay that anybody that reads it says, yes, this is a movie, and it's going to be a great one. Then we're going to create our plot in 3 steps. This one, plot track 1, is a series of what-if questions. And what you're doing is you're looking for what would make it funny, what would make it meaningful, what would make it a story that people love. All of that, you're asking what if after what if after what if to expand the possibilities for your story. From there, we're going to go to the comedy subplots, because many times a comedy subplot is just as funny or funnier than the others. And your comedy subplots are built specifically for comedy. If you think of we had a comedy subplot that started with a naked guy jumping out of the trunk, beating on our lead characters with a crowbar. And then it turns out that he's a gangster and that he is holding who they think is their friend hostage. And he's kidnapped that person, and he is wanting them to get him $80,000, right? That whole comedy subplot brought some conflict, but it also brought a lot of humor. So from there, then you'll go to your comedy situations. This will give you a chance to brainstorm even more now that you know what your story is about and what your subplots are about. And it'll give you a chance to check the ones you have to make sure they really can do the job. Then it's about punchlines, taking those comedy situations and comedy subplots. How do you build in as many punchlines as possible that trigger people's laughter? This is one of the key things that comedians do a great job on, and you'll be great at it also. Then physical and sight gags, adding toppers, which means you already have the audience laugh. How do you top that? How do you have them laugh even more? Adding running gags that all you have to do is just introduce a subject a second time, and 3 scenes later, people are laughing again, right? And then, of course, I will walk you through step by step exactly how to create the laugh your ass off scenes. Now, what I just did was showed you an example, but I didn't tell you how to create them. Once you know this, you'll be able to create, again, 5 to 7 or more laugh your ass off scenes. That will be the kind of thing that you'll be known for. Also, it will be the kind of thing that anytime a producer reads your script, they won't be able to help laughing. And that will have them say you're an incredible writer. Now, at that point, then it'll be about going back through the whole thing and making it funnier. Now, this class starts on June 30th. That gives you 15 days to brainstorm possible projects. And I would recommend, again, use our AI prompts that I'm going to give you as soon as you sign up. Use our AI prompts. You can actually, with thinking and walking through and making it your own and all of that, which I'll explain how to do, you can actually create a brand new project in about 30 minutes to an hour. Do 5 of those, one every 3 days, or 10 of them, one every 1.5 days, before June 30th, and you'll be coming in with an incredible comedy idea and the start to it. The normal price on this class is $199. It is well worth it. We spent a lot of time making sure that this was designed to make it easy for you. Comedy is probably one of the hardest genres there is, because you have to evoke a particular emotional reaction from an audience, and you have to do it over and over and over and over again. I promise you, by the time you go through this, you will know how to do this in this script, and you will know how to do it in any script you want. You can go back to your most serious thrillers and build comedy in at specific places that you want to. You can go back to your action stories and fill them full of comedy. You can go to your rom-coms and make them even funnier. It works for any genre and especially for comedy. So here's the link. Let me give you the special, by the way. This is for the first 10 people. First 10 people get in at $129. So that'll save you $70. And here's my advice to you on this. Jump in. I promise you, you will love this program. If for some reason you're not in the first 10, the price will jump to either $149 or $179. I'm not sure which. And then after that, the next 10 will be at $199. I promise you, even if you pay the $199, this will make your writing better for the rest of your life. It will make every script you write from now on funnier, more interesting, and you will have mastered another genre that really gives you a chance right now in this industry. So here's the link, just write it down, bit.ly, bit.ly/SU-comedy. Now, let me just say that again so it's clear. This SU for screenwriting U, so it's bit.ly, bit.ly, write this down, /SU-comedy. No spaces, no capitals. Put that in your browser where you normally put a web address, click return, and start this journey. As soon as you sign up, we will send you, well, here, let's see, I think I got it right here. As soon as you sign up, we will send you prompt number 1, creating your high concept. Prompt number 2, great comedy characters. And prompt number 3, 10 comedy situations so that you can create all 3 of those for your first project right now. So come join us, be one of our first 10, get in at 129, or be one of the second 10, get in at the 179. If you end up at 199, it's still worth it. You will enjoy this class. You will love how much fun it becomes to create comedies from now on. And you will also have that wonderful opportunity of being able to make producers and readers laugh, which dramatically increases your chance of success. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I look forward to seeing you in the comedy class. It was great talking with you. And other than that, I wish you the best having fun writing your future comedies. With that, this is Hal Krosman wishing you the best. Bye-bye, everyone.